Well, hi folks, welcome to the first 2017 episode of Pete's Kitchen Garden. As you imagine, this time of year there's not a great deal going off. Everything's looking fairly tidy. I'm right where I want to be for this time of year, but obviously it's still cold, it's still very wet, but I thought it might be nice to just sort of say hi. I know a few of you guys have been doing videos right through the winter, bless you, and I've been enjoying them. So just quickly, beds are ready. Got me overwintering garlic in that if you watched last year's video, last year's videos I did very well with, and that's coming along nicely. It just seems to grow, you know, no matter what the weather throws at it. Those beds are all ready now, but I am going to use some compost, probably a top layer of compost. I think I'm going to try the no-dig method. Obviously the borders are empty apart from a few evergreens and bits and bobs. I've got some bulbs in here and they're just starting to come through if I can find one. So where are we? There we go. Yeah, just there, you can see it. Daffodils, crocuses and tulips, so looking forward to them coming up. Get a bit of early colour. Pond. This needs a good clean, to be honest. It needs the leaves taking out. It needs. I'm going to get something to put in there to help get rid of the algae. And as I think I mentioned in the last video of 2016, I have a pump as well that's going to go in there. And I'm going to do a bit of work around here, to be honest. You know, sort of smarten it up a bit. And I'm going to probably build a little sort of hedgehog nest and a few other bits. Bird box there on the fence. So yeah, that's something I want to do a bit of work on. I'm going to get new stones for around here and sort of rebed them, and yeah, it's going to be a bit of a project for this year. Is the nature pond. Up to the compost bins. So this is really looking quite well, to be honest. It's pretty well broken down, and you know, I think I'm debating whether I'm going to leave it another year, because it is still quite sort of coarse at the minute. But then compost is expensive, and I need a large amount anyway for a new bed which I've built, which I'll show you in a second. So you know, I may end up actually using that in these beds, but if I do, it probably won't be no dig. I'll probably just dig it in. I'm not really doing any seedlings in there. It's all sort of going to be things that have been grown in the greenhouse and planted on. So we'll see what the purse strings allow. And this is my other one coming along nicely. I'm going to get a third silo hopefully this year. These are 24 quid each, which is a good price actually, but I'm going to just see if they sort of go on offer or go on clearance at any point. I'm not desperate for one. We've got this one to be filling, so keep an eye out for a bargain. Now this is new. So around the back of the greenhouse here, before we just had two 8-foot B 2-foot raised beds, and I've took them out. This is 16 foot long by about 6 foot. I'm getting some decent compost topsoil to put in here, because I'm going to be growing onions in here, and in between the rows of onions I'm going to grow carrots and see if it'll keep the old carrot fly away. Funny thing really, because I mean I've grown carrots over here a couple of years, to be honest, and they've not suffered carrot fly. The first year that I did them in tubs and raised them, put them on the patio, I got a bit of carrot fly. So I don't know, it's a funny thing sometimes, gardening. I've got some fruit bushes there, a couple of blackcurrant bushes, a couple of gooseberry bushes and a blackcurrant bush. Well, I'm going to be putting the gooseberry bush probably here and a blackcurrant bush here, and I'll have a spare gooseberry bush that I don't want, so I'll probably end up giving that away. The greenhouse is complete, fully glassed. Well, I say fully glassed. There's just one piece to go in there. But I haven't got any clips at the minute. I literally just need one clip. I'm one clip short for getting that piece of glass in, and I'm reluctant to go and buy a full pack of them, so I'm going to see if I can maybe find something that I can fashion that'll do the job. So yeah, I've still got this framing that I used last year for the tomatoes, but I've actually had to drop it because the polytunnel I had before is a little bit taller than this greenhouse. You know, not in the middle, but you know what, on the edges here, so I had to cut the frame down, and I've got this supporting bar a lot lower. It's not a problem. I mean, I'll still tie the canes to it and the tomatoes will still grow. Just bear with me a second. I'm going to shut the greenhouse door, that's better. And yeah, same setup here as last year. So, you know, we'll have sort of cucumbers and peppers and things going off in this bed that needs filling. And obviously this is where all the millions of trays that no doubt I'll end up with, all the seedlings are going to go. And then when we get to a certain point in the year, same as I did last year, those will come off and it'll allow the plants underneath more room, you know, more height to grow. That's kind of about it really, folks. I just kind of want to have a quick word about a few things that we're going to do differently this year. So one thing about last year was, you know, every year you kind of learn what works, what doesn't, and probably what you need to grow more of and what you need to grow less of. And we're going to be growing a lot more of things that we use a lot of, and we're going to be doing away with things that are not space efficient. So in that category I would say things like calabrese, broccoli. The problem with them is that, you know, if you look at one of these beds here, so you know, a quarter of that bed I'll get 4 broccoli in, a quarter of that bed I'll get 4 cauliflowers in, but that's just 4 plants. That's a big amount of space to use, and you know, within 4 meals they'll be gone, and we use a lot more than that, so I don't really have the space to make it sustainable. Kale I will do, because obviously that's, you just pick the leaves and it keeps coming, and we always do great with that every year, and it's delicious. I'm going to be doing more onions and carrots, as I mentioned, in this bed here. So the last 2 years I've done 6 rows of onions, 3 rows of red and 3 rows of white. This is going to have something like 11 rows in, I think, maybe 12. So you almost double what we've grown before, and we will use them because we always end up running out. And carrots, I mean, you know, we grew nowhere near enough carrots last year. I grew a few in a tub, and it just wasn't anywhere near enough. So I'm sort of going industrial on carrots. So in between these 10 or so rows of onions, we're probably going to have roughly the same rows of carrots. I'm going to do some early ones, probably, well, I'm going to do Nantes because I've already bought those, or Nance, I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce that. And then we'll do a good sort of, you know, later kind of overwintering carrot, and we'll probably freeze them, blanch them and freeze them, so that'll keep us going. Leeks is another one. I did 1 row the first year, 2 rows last year. We still need more, we love leeks. I'm going to do 3 or 4 rows this year. Just a couple of row of beetroot, because we do eat a bit of it fresh, but we tend to pickle most of it. We do like pickled beetroot. I know it's not everyone's bag, but you know, we do like it. We've still got some in the fridge. We're on our last jar, so 2 rows is about right. You know, a couple of rows of lettuce that we'll keep doing successionally, and obviously spring onion we always do, radish. The sugar snap peas I think are going to go in this little border against the shed, and I'm going to use these canes that I harvested from these trees last year to sort of, sorry for spinning around quick, for building up a lattice work to go in front of that shed. I think that'll be better than the setup we had last year. The frame wasn't really big enough or secure enough, and we love sugar snap peas. What's the other thing? Potato. So where all that junk is now, hopefully that's going to be gone pretty soon. We're getting a skip at the end of this month, a payday skip, as we like to call it. And I'm basically going to have, I think, 6 large tubs of first earlies. I'm not bothering with second earlies. First earlies are fine. I mean, even if we don't use them straight away, when the foliage dies back, you can chop the tops off and, you know, keep them in the pots and they'll last. And probably a couple of large tubs of main crops, just because I like having some main crops. And I think I might try a bucket of sweet potato as well this year, because we like those too. But it's not something we use loads of, so that's just a little something that I'm going to try. The flowers this year, so we're going to have the annual bedding along here, like we always do, the summer bedding, and that's going to be things like marigolds, pansy, lobelia, etc. So we'll do that again this year, but the main difference is I'm doing all of those from seeds this year. But just because it's so much cheaper. I mean, you know, it's about a tenner for the seeds, you know, to have enough plants to fill that, and I'll probably still have too many. Whereas I think last year we spent, 60, nearly 70 quid just on plants for this border, which is crazy. I've got a greenhouse, so we're going to do that from seed, and we'll see how we go with it. Going to have a couple of hanging baskets this year as well, and I'm not actually growing any veg on the decking this year. So last year, remember, I had the pots of potatoes on there, and I had carrots and things on there. All I'm going to grow on there is decorative plants. So you can't really see it from here, but I've got a sort of square decking planter that I made up. I've got an old sort of kiddies drum kit that I've taken the vinyl off, the coating, and we're just going to get some nice bulbs in there and various flowers and tart that up a little bit. You can just see here, there's a little bed here with sort of, it's like a quarter circle. You can't see all of it because the shed's in the way, with some evergreens that I planted just before the winter. They're doing okay, so that'd be quite nice when they bush out, just to have that nice bit of greenery next to the decking. In terms of tomatoes, I'm going to do the same as I did last year. I'm going to do 3 cordon variety, 3 bush variety. I'm going for Moneymaker as the cordon variety, and I'm going to go for Gardener's Delight as the bush variety. So good, tried and tested varieties. And the cucumbers, I'm going to put them in the same place really. Now, ordinarily you would rotate, but I've actually got rid of most of the soil from here, and there's fresh soil going in, and it's probably the best spot to grow them, to be honest. If I grow them here, then because they get quite tall, they end up, sort of blocking the light out from sort of coming in this direction. So I'm going to do the snack bite cucumbers again, although I don't think the variety, I think the variety is called Baby, but it's the same sort of thing where you get these 4 or 5 inch long cucumbers, and you don't have to sort of get a massive cucumber, cut it in half, and then have it sitting in your fridge for 2 or 3 days. And hopefully this year I won't get blight on my tomatoes, because I did last year. But you never know what it's going to throw at you. The one thing I can tell you is that, obviously, like all gardeners, I am absolutely dying to get started. I want to build on the successes that we had last year. As always with gardening, you sort of make improvements every year. You learn things, particularly from watching other people's videos on YouTube. So at some point I'll probably do some shout-outs for people's channels that I've subscribed to and like to watch. I won't do it now, because what I'll do is I'll probably reel a few off, and then there'll be some really good ones that I've forgotten. So we'll maybe do that next time. It might be a while before I do another video, because, as I say, there's not much going on out here. I can't even really work the soil because it's so wet at the minute. But yeah, I'm absolutely raring to go, and I can't wait for this year. 2017, bring it on. Until next time, guys, look after yourselves, take care, and bye for now.